Money. We all have it and use it. It is something that is a part of our everyday lives. Now, what if there was no money? What would you do? Ever since humans have existed, so has wealth. Before currency was created, there was still the concept of the exchange of wealth through barter, where people would exchange items like livestock and crops. The problem that comes with this is the coincidence of wants, where for barter to work, both parties must have each other's item. So, if I had a cow and wanted some wheat, I would have to find someone with wheat who also wanted a cow, which could prove quite difficult. If, however, this person didn't have an item to exchange, they may have been able to take it out on credit and be in this person's debt. This led for there to be a need for a widely used currency. The first record of a functioning economic system was in 3000 BC, where people would go to temples, which would be their equivalent of a bank, and take out loans like we do in today's world. The pure fundamentals of the exchange of goods and services has stayed the same. What hasn't is the forms of money and the distribution of it. It started with bartering items, to the first currency being created over 5,000 years ago with gold and silver coins. For the last 800 years, we've had paper money, which has promoted the currency market and international trade. In the last 60 years, with the innovation of technology, we have seen the introduction of debit cards and credit cards, the use of which has significantly increased since the start of the pandemic, with around 5 in 6 payments now being cashless, compared to 50% a decade ago. Another thing technology has brought in is virtual currencies, the most popular being Bitcoin. So, from cows and wheat, we've gone all the way to currencies being completely digital. Money is perceived by society as a measure of success. The power and validation people think that comes with money is why so many people work so hard to make it. A child born in a village in a third world country would have very little chance of making it out, even if he worked 18 hours a day, as he'd be stuck in a cycle of just about making enough money to survive and not being able to find a better job, as there's no opportunities for an education. The top 10 richest people in the world currently are all male. 9 of them are white. This isn't a coincidence. Neither is the fact that they all had a good education and a roof over their heads. Becoming financially stable depends on an endless number of factors, the most important being winning the Ovarian lottery. Where you're born, when you're born, who your parents are, your gender, race, natural abilities, and health. Everyone in the room won the Ovarian lottery. Each of us to different extents, but just by being here today, you have won. Your start in life has a monumental effect on where you live, your wealth, and even your relationships. However, I believe in the last 20 to 30 years, this factor is becoming less and less important as our society develops. 30 years ago, if a man and woman applied for the same position with the exact same qualifications, the man would have a much higher chance of getting the job. A research project done in Norway found that when only gender separated the two candidates, the man had a 2.9% higher chance of achieving the promotion. This number is decreasing. New professions are being created all the time. In today's world, talking to a camera and uploading it to social media can make you a multi-millionaire. YouTube alone has created thousands of millionaires, one of the highest earners being a 10-year-old boy who makes over 20 million a year by reviewing toys, something that wouldn't have been possible 20 years ago. Another way the distribution of wealth is changing is through investments. One of the biggest new markets is cryptocurrency. Most popular amongst the youth, this rising market could help see more and more people become financially free. The current age for first-time homebuyers in the UK currently is 34 years old. This number has been increasing since 2007, when it was 28. The ever-rising housing market and the rise in student debt has caused the significant increase. In October 2020, 29% of British citizens aged between 18 to 29 years old owned a cryptocurrency, the highest amount compared to all other age groups. The cryptocurrency market at the time was worth around 350 billion. It is now worth over 2 trillion. One Bitcoin at the time was worth around $11,000 and is now worth over $55,000. The average savings of a UK citizen in that age range is around £3,000. If they'd invested that money into Bitcoin a year ago, it would be worth over £15,000 today. So potentially, as we see the number of investors into cryptocurrency start to increase, we could start to see the age for first-time homebuyers in the UK decrease. Is the greater distribution of wealth a good thing? It sounds like a stupid question for there to be greater equality, but some will argue it won't have a positive impact on society. We have seen examples of this equality before in our society through socialism, not one, however, being successful and all eventually failing. The most successful probably being the Soviet Union, lasting nearly 70 years, but also seeing nearly 50 million people die. If socialists understood economics, they wouldn't be socialists. A quote by Friedrich von Hayek, a German economist. He would tell you how there is a need for there to be people who are poor, as it means they are forced to do the unwanted jobs. If there weren't people in mines, farms, or factories, the chain of producing goods would collapse. There is always also going to be people who want more, and so things like greed will set people apart and cause inequality. If you were to speak to someone in working class, they will tell you the opposite, and how this change is long overdue, and how billionaires won't be able to exploit workers anymore. This way, the boy in the third world village may actually have a good chance of achieving social mobility. It is clear that more opportunities have been created for social mobility to occur. But has there been fundamental changes which could see social barriers being moved? Or is it change for a lucky few?